Nie czytam, ale na zaproszenia. Ale zaproszenie na co? No tak, ja z chęcią, tylko ja 11 byłem do Kijowa. Wracam 15.
Jeżeli dworzec nie zostaniesz bombardowany.
No, co robię ten czas? No, ale jest chęcią przyszedł. To otwieram wystawę w Muzeum Polacy Polski. Oczywiście.
Jak się rozpyta,
Widzę, że to bieżące.
jak się rozpyta.
Jeszcze wystawa jest Polacy Polski.
No właśnie.
O kurczę, nie. Bo ostatnio znowu opera. A na wydziale była jakaś konferencja o Polonii za polskich zapędach muzealnictwa polskiego. No, nie śmieszne. A to na Uniwersytecie właśnie jest taki po prostu masakra. Artes liberales wiedział. Taka doktoracja kuratorki Faras obecnej, która dostała w ogóle 4 negatywne recenzje doktoratu, które się ignorowano, to bo właśnie tak, Faras po prostu z ciekawą rozmawiałem, bo ona chciała pokazać, przytoczyć Faras taki przykład polskiej działalności kolonizacyjnej. Nowina odbiorza słów, ale widzę, że... A to co myśmy do tej robić?
Nie sugerować, że trzeba oddać.
Bo więc właśnie, bardziej, jeżeli na dowód
Biją się.
Ile osób się tam podłączyło?
Z 5.
To co, zaczynamy? A ile na to będzie można?
2 minuty.
A, się podłączyć. Nie, no chcę się podłączyć, żeby zobaczyć, kto słucha.
Może ja wyłączę to przednie światło.
Tak.
Minuta czekania jeszcze na Krzysztofa Szkodrzewskiego, który jest trochę związany też z tym terenem.
Oczywiście.
Ale on, jak powiedział, tłumaczył starym sposobem, a przecież kwadrans akademicki.
Nie znane zobowiązania.
No to teoretycznie 10 minut.
15 pozwala.
No tak, ale jest
Teraz mam 2 minuty, żeby tylko zdjął kurtkę i natychmiast na nich padł na zakres.
Nie postaram się.
To co zaczniemy?
Dobra, myślimy za tak.
To ja znaczy, bo to będzie mieć Państwo wykład po angielsku, więc trochę i wstęp będzie po angielsku, i ten po polsku, więc ja proszę zaraz Panu głos. Tylko taki, thank you very much for your talk, and we hope that everybody and people listening to you online will appreciate that. And we understand the other non-academic circumstances for you are difficult. Alisa Semenova from the Department of Classical Archaeology, the Institute of Archaeology, the Ukrainian Academy of Sciences, as you can see here, probably, yeah. But a little bit more detailed introduction, I will ask Alfred Twardecki to give, because he is much more familiar with archaeology in Ukraine and the Black Sea, and also with our guests.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and welcome everybody for the lecture of Alisa Semenova from Institute of Archaeology, National Academy of Sciences in Ukraine. As Professor Twardecki said, she is a junior researcher, which means assistant or the PhD candidate in this institute. And she is with us for 2 months scholarship of the Polish Academy of Sciences, just to finish her PhD work about the bone artifacts from Olbia in Olbia Pontica, bone crafts in Olbia Pontica. Which is more general, and she will present today the main results of her work, especially also with the results she obtained in last weeks in Poland and visiting the collections in the Polish museums. Especially in the National Museum in Warsaw, of course. And the title, as you see, is this preliminary results of the study of bone artifacts from Olbia Pontica. I would like only add for the record that this presentation, this meeting is recorded for the future. Thank you very much, and please, Alisa.
Thank you. Good morning, dear colleagues. I am pleased to be here today to share with you the primary results of my work, which I hope will soon evolve into my doctoral dissertation. Today I will discuss bone artifacts and bone processing technique with the most important Greek settlement in the northern Black Sea region. Olbia Pontica was an ancient Greek polis founded by migrants from the Ionian city of Miletus during the period of the turn of the 7th and 6th century BC. It was situated on the right bank of the Dnieper Bug estuary within the bordering on the modern-day Mykolaiv Oblast in Ukraine. As a Greek polis, Olbia exists until the second half of the 3rd century AD. This period of time can be divided in 2 big periods, Hellenic and Greco-Roman. After the decline of Olbia, there was probably another settlement on this territory already associated with the Chernihiv-Sintana de Muneș culture. First time the inhabitants of Olbia and later the non-Greek settlement chiefly used bone products. Before delving into the analysis of artifacts, I would like to explore the history of the use source base. Systematic archaeological research in Olbia began in the late 19th centuries, thus they have been ongoing for over a century with some brief interruptions during the period between 1915 and 1923, as well as from 1941 to 1945. Unfortunately, due to the full-scale military invasion by Russian Federation since 2022, we have another break in research. Over this expected period, a colossal number of archaeological artifacts have been discovered, including bone items and remains from the processing. Unfortunately, our knowledge of many of these objects, especially those excavated in early 20th century, is limited to brief mention. A big part of the collection from that time currently reserved in the Russian Museum and Research Institution, as Ukraine was a part of the Russian Empire for expected period. The research was done by the Imperial Archaeological Commission in St. Petersburg, where the finds were sent and later distributed to different museums. Currently, we can confirm that bone artifacts from Olbia are reserved in the State Historical Museum and the State Hermitage Museum. Some artifacts were transported to the Russian during Soviet time, even after the excavation expedition of the Institute of Archaeology in Kiev began work in Olbia. A portion of artifacts continue to be transported to Russia as the expedition from St. Petersburg continue its activities. All of this leads to the dispersion of the collection even within Ukrainian. Artifacts from Olbia in general and bone artifacts in particular have reserved in the least 6 scientific institutions across different regions. Recently, one of this collection was stolen by the Russians from the Kherson Museum and taken to the temporarily occupied Crimea, and the fate of these items remains unknown. My research primarily relies on materials found during the work of the expedition from the Institute of Archaeology of National Academy of Science of Ukraine. Certainly include other available courses such as field research report and publication on artifacts from Olbia in Essential. The use of a big range of published courses from the various parts of the Greco-Roman world serve as necessary analogies. Additionally, the opportunity to personally see artifacts in museums of different countries, both through private visit and through scholarship, has proven to be available. Particularly sent for the Polish Academy of Science Scholarship, I have visited the museum in Krakow and Warsaw. In the latter, I have a chance to work with the object with a special focus on artifacts obtained during the Polish excavation in 1956-1959 in Mermikion, now temporarily occupied Crimea. Despite the ongoing research, I can present the initial primary results provide a general overview of the complex of bone artifacts from Olbia. First, it's necessary to pay some attention to terminology. When researchers use the term bone artifacts, they typically mean not just item crafted from bone, but also those material from for example, horn of domestic and wild animals, and elephant tusk and other. Within the territory of Ukraine, artifacts crafted from various animal materials have been discovered, with the majority being made from the bones of domestic animals and antler for a red deer. In addition to artifacts, remains from the processing of those two materials have also been discovered. We currently don't have a final statistic, but it is evident that the scientific portion of these artifacts were crafted from the bone of domestic animals, most often cattle foot bones, for example, metacarpus, metatarsus, and tibia. Bones from domestic animals are essential and cheap raw material that was really available and used for the both simple and more complex artifacts. If to take into account the entire complex of bone artifacts, we can conclude that Olbia residents at the very least processed all the basic technique processing bone and deer antlers. For example, cutting, drilling, smoothing, polishing, and carving. The difficulty lies in the fact that Olbia workshops for processing bone and horn have not been found yet, but when we work with documentation of previously exploited sector, we have been able to record craft activities in Olbia Temenos. We were interested by small but informative serious production antlers from Botros number 9. It was located near the western wall of the sanctuary of Apollo. According to the nature of archaeological material, it belongs to pits typical from Olbia Temenos burials of sacred garbage, so-called Botros. It contained not the offering from particular sanctuary, but garbage from the different parts of the Temenos, as evidenced among other things. By the motif of various gods having separate sanctuary, for example, Apollon, Dioscurus, and Mother of God. Finds from the Botros are dated from the first half of the 6th and first quarter of the 5th century BC. The least that can be considered the time of the closing this object. According to scholars, its creation took place on one stage, as evidenced by the fragment of the same vessels which were found in the different depths. Artifacts related to bone and horn processing can be divided into groups. The first contains object to cult practice, and another in additional a series of processed deer antler deserves special attention. A total of 17 items which belong to the second group, artifacts related to production activities. The range of these artifacts is presented by waste of antler primary cutting blanks at semi-finished products items. This first includes the lower part of a main beam with the traces of fire, Um, and the tin split off, which hardly could have been used from the future. Banks and presented by 4 items, a part of main bin with the cut of tines, a tin cut on both sides, and 2 narrow splits on tins. A semi-finished product system as the largest group items, the main part of which are a blank of the different production stage of antler inlay plates making, which were used to decorate chased furniture and more. One of them is partly polished on the side, which was obviously the last stage of processing. One more fragment on this on the processed antler tin can be attributed to production waste. Such specific range items can serve indirect evidence of the existence of production area for horn processing within the West Temenest. Most likely, small amount of processed antler was dictated by the need of the sanctuary. Another item depicted on this slide does not belong to the described complex. However, this is not finished products. It's extremely interesting in context of researching the development of bone carving crafts in Olbia, because that object had been later toned. It is essentially a production defect, especially a bone blank with split during the working process. An Asian craftmaster intended to do round disc, perhaps to make a lid for pixies, for example. Findings such as this provide strong proof a local manufacturing showing not just the creation of basic handmade tools, but also to development the more specialized craft. In human history, people have often utilized bone in their natural state with the minimum modification. They were mainly used to the crafted different simple tools, like for personal use by individuals who didn't have specialized skill and with the use of basic tools. However, to find out the exact function of such artifacts can often be challenging. For example, one of the most numerous categories of bone artifacts from Olbia, modified bone of animals, which robes of notches on the working surface. For a long time, they were mistakenly considered a tool for processing ceramics, bones, even grinding stone. Their true purpose, however, has been anvils from creating tea on the sacred skill was successfully established with the help of numerous ethnographic data. Based on the artifacts I've studied, I can conclude that the raw material from bone anvils in Olbia was the long bone of large domestic animals, for example, cotton and bone and horn and horse, with deer antler behind used not often for this purpose. On the slide, you can see a diagram illustration the proportion of these materials. Those tools found in many ancient Greek cities in the northern Black Sea region at the Scythian settlement and belong to the 3 chronological periods: classical, Hellenistic, and Roman. Similar finds have apparently in other territory and have both archaeological and ethnographic context. For example, on slide you can see one of such example. It's depict working tools and the process shaping of the sickle by a contemporary blacksmith from Tunisia. Also, another of artifacts, so-called skates, was made from the long bone of a horse. Scholars have a different interpretation for this object. Some think that it's really skates for ice and showing and snow moving, and some think that it's tool for processing leather, for example. In Olbia, numerous tools like that have been found, but their interpretation will be better understood after conducting a traceology analysis, which we hope to carry out later. Another category of products with a minimal modification of the national form of the raw materials is amulet. Amulet is artifact with a rich history. The earliest amulets were crafted from natural materials like shells, canine, bird talon. In Olbia, a considerable number of similar artifacts have been also discovered. I'll mention just a few of them. The first identified by Evgenia Yanish. It's archaeologist who works in Olbia as canine of young leopard. According to her assessment, the second amulet, it was crafted from the talon of a raptor, possibly the golden eagle or bi-talon eagle. Another interesting and numerous categories consist of small plates made from long and flat bone. Usually they have only one side which is smoothed and polished, another received less attention in terms of procession. However, some plates had graffiti which could be drawing individual letter or symbol or even complete sentences. Anna Ruseva associated a series of such plates with the inscription with the cult of Dionysus. Bone artifacts, including modified bone, were often used as base for inscription. For example, talus bone of hued animals, also known as astragals. A scientific portion of both unprocessed and processed astragals has been found in Olbia. These objects were used in game which was popular around the Greco-Roman world. In Olbia, large quality of astragals of various degrees of modification has been found. They were made from the ankle bones of small hoofed animals such as sheep and goat, and well as large arms like cattle. Some of them been marking interpreted as point, and with other have a Greek alphabet letter. Most likely, some of these artifacts serve not only a gaming function but also ritual one. This is supported by their frequent discovery in burial. Also interested astragals dating from the 1 to the 2th century. They have depiction with the Sarmatian tongues. Alongside artifacts that display minimum change from their natural state, we also have items that underwent complete transformation from their raw materials. The degree of modification from the sum of them complicates indicate of the raw material from the which they were crafted. An example of such items includes various handles. They vary different on the craftsmith size and method of attaching of working tool and construction. Based on the list, we have two types handles. It's solid handles made from the single piece of materials and complex handle constructed with two parts. Most often they are identified like knife handles, but in most cases the blades are not reserved. Some of them were likely handles for other material tools or even the mirrors. For example, of such one example of such you can see in the slide. This is mirror from the collection of the National Museum in Krakow. This mirror has the ivory handle. Among the artifacts, three various inlays decorative plate, which likely adorned furniture such as bed or chairs. Numerous antlers plate shaped like volutes are particularly important. These items likely adorned furniture, especially beds. A series of similar bread was discovered in Olbia at the beginning of the 20th century. Is one of the burials. Country housed in the State Historical Museum in Russia. You can see an illustration this object. At that time, they were identified as inlays for the decorative sarcophagus. However, more likely they are served in the as inlays, especially for the burial bed. Another interesting fragment of the figure plates broken on both sides in the form of repeated wave pattern. The similar inlays fragment from Olbia is housed in the National Museum of History of Ukraine, and analogy to it now at the other side of the northern Black Sea region, such as Nikonion, as well as the territory of Greece, for example, from Delos. Within this group, we can also include the antler ornament plate from the end of the 5th and 4th century BC. The front side of this plate exhibited polished surface adorned with a meander pattern. The study of Olbia's connection with the Scythian has been on focus on scholarship investigation for a long time in Olbia, and numerous artifacts have been found illustrating this connection, among them also item made from the deer antler. This is typical details from the horse equipment for the Scythian culture, which use for interaction of remains. Find of such artifacts have already been discovered in Olbia in late archaic context, but more analogies we know from the Scythian size. Special attention is also drawn into artist creation made in the Scythian animal style. Two examples of these, such artifacts pieces are the plaques in the shape of predatory heads, probably lion heads, that you can see in the slide. The discoveries of artifacts belong to the Scythian culture testified the interaction between both cultures. The next group artifacts that bind musical instruments and consider to several bone tubes called aulos. This instrument been incredibly popular in ancient Greece and demonstrated by numerous depictions in vase painting and analogy in the various parts of the Greek board. such as Heraion on the Perahora Peninsula, Ephesus, and other. They also get popularity in Roman times. Our specimen comes from the Hellenic period. Stilus and also another well illustrated category are the picture of the both space painting and archaeological finds. Its writing implements were crafted not for just metal, but also from bone. The artifacts you see in the slide has special form with one side pointed for inscription on the wax, and other is a spatula for erasing. Similar items have been found in Athens, Corinth, at Perahora, and many other ancient Greek polis. Bone artifacts were used and products throughout the all exist of Olbia, but during the Greco-Roman period, the range of bone items expected some difficulty. Alongside the mentioned artifacts, traditional Roman crafts items appeared found in different corners of the Roman Empire, and the region influenced by them rich. In Greco-Roman world, various containers from starch were quality popular, including a special type known as pyxis. This is a round vessel with a moved lid made from various materials. In the 1st and 2nd century AD, small bone pyxis made from tubular bone on large domestic animals become very popular. In Olbia, this category of items represented by specimen with a simple ornamentation, with the lines and adorned with the molding, and they probably have a profiled lid. However, the least one of pyxis found in Olbia was adorned with the figurative ornaments depicted arrows. It was housed in Kherson Museum and was most likely stolen by the Russians during the retreat from the Kherson. Pyxis were used from the storing cosmetic and medical substation, also possibly for storing small items. On the necropolis of Olbia, pyxis with pink pigment were often discovered. One such example you can see on the slide. In the territory of Ukraine, bone pyxis have been found not only in Olbia and other sites of northern Black Sea region, but also inside of Barbarian. We're talking about Sarmatian burials. Another example for standardized Roman production was the spoon. Among them, artifacts commonly identified in scientific literature as cochlearia, known from the writing ancient Roman courses. These are a spoon with a small bowl capacity closer the modern teaspoon, with handle with the pointed eagle. In Olbia, we have two types small spoon. They separate by shape of the bones of the round. One is round and other is almond shaped. The variant with the round bowl is much more popular in the, and was used universally in the Roman time. The second variant has analogy in materials from the Augusta Raurica in bronze and from Aquincum in bone. Pins made from different materials were also very popular in Roman time. You see example for different types pins from the Olbia Pontica. They were represented by various specimens, plain one as well as those with decorative elements. One more interesting object is a spoon with a handle shaped like dolphin, presented in the Mykolaiv local museum. In particularly interested. We don't have full analogy for this spoon, but use dolphin depiction as handles is known by example of materials from, for example, from Lemonum. It's contemporary Poitiers. Also, bone was used to make different house items such as needles with the two or one example which you can see on the slide. Bone materials continue to be activity used to the products of furniture during the Roman time. They were used as components such heddles from the movable part of the chest. On this slide, you also can see decorative elements. It's a figurative swan heads that have analogy in materials from the other cities of the northern Black Sea region. Also, and also outside this territory in Corinth and Pompeii. The next group of items which it's well mentioned is artifacts across associated with the military. In Olbia, they are represented by items show the slide, bones, chains, carpet in line for composite bows and arrows. Another important category of object as ivory artifacts, as they were being found in small numbers and probably were imported to Olbia. It's true, at least for the certain for artifacts. For example, these beautiful combs made from ivory. I presume that it comes from the territory of modern-day Afghanistan because it's due to its similarity to ivory plaques from Bagram. Some scholars based on this specific gest with the finger near the mouth believe that the comp depicts a god Harpocrates. Ivory was precious materials then as it today, so it's unlikely that simple functional objects were made from it. This is supported by the finds from Olbia. In additionally, we can mention also massive ornament called a volute for a bed and heavily diminished figure of lion. As I mentioned early in the presentation, after decline of Olbia, there was a Chernihiv-Santana settlement on these ruins sometime. During scientific archaeological investigation, were found at least 8 antler combs with a single row of teeth. They have been found in different parts of the slide in the city and necropolis. From the typological point of view, all 3-layer combs from Olbia can be divided in 2 groups. The first is represented by type 1 according to Thomas. They are generally dated to the second half of the 3 and beginning of the 4th century. The second group is represented by the next class of find. These combs have a complex shape with a base on rectangle with a semicircular middle part. This group of finds corresponds to type 3 according to the Thomas. Similar combs were dated back to the second half of the 4th and beginning of 5th centuries. The range of items considering it not exhaustive, but includes the majority of house most commonly found in Olbia. To sum up the accroissment of products indicated to the existence of home products with the presence of by objects that are easy of process. There was also more complex specific craft. Our analogy belong to the northern Black Sea region indicates despite the geographical distance, the population of Olbia had intensive connection with the Greek and Roman world. This is particularly evidence the spread of massive products items typical from Roman. At the same time, it was nothing to present of distinct local specialty in the collection associated with the interaction with the non-Greek neighbors of Olbia. Thank you for your attention. I would glad to answer your question.
Thank you very much for this presentation, for this review of the rich aspect of all the bones items from all the representing the group and scattered all over the museum. And now the questions i teraz pytania, jeżeli Państwo możecie, to rozumiem, że Pani będzie albo po rosyjsku, albo po angielsku. Ja mogę w razie czego angielski pomóc, w rosyjskim nie, bo moje rosyjskie jest tak jak turecki, nie więcej. Ale mamy tutaj dwóch specjalistów, którzy na pewno by ewentualnie mogli. The short Polish explanation about the question,
Yeah.
which let me just know who and how to translate. Yeah, that is, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know if they see me, probably not. No, so, okay, to all the people listening to us online, you can probably also ask for the questions.
Are there identified tools that could be used for the production of this bone or antler artifacts in Olbia? Do you know such tools?
You know, we have very big problem with metal tools because metal not saved in our point, and we don't have much object from this material. It's a problem because, of course, we have some analogies from the other side, but it's not the same. It's not so good for identificate. Of course, we have some knife and some pieces object, but we don't have workshops. If we have this workshop, if we have some items on this workshop, we can think that it's tools for processing bone, or we don't know, in all the materials we don't have this.
Yes, yes.
As it was mentioned, you visited the Polish collections in Warsaw and Krakow, and were you looking for particular or individual finds from Olbia, or just looking for analogies from the Black Sea?
I look in analogies from another Greek or Roman or maybe Etrurian artifacts. And also I can say that bone crafting, it's a very archaic craftsmanship. Some object we can see from Paleolithic to the modern day. And it's good for me to see all these artifacts, not only these artifacts my period, not only, but also another. Sometimes it's very good to see ethnographical modern artifacts because they are saved and we can see a big part of this object, not some pieces.
Do we have in Poland some pieces from Olbia?
No, no, we have, you have in Muzeum, Narodowym Muzeum Warszawy, Polish excavation in Crimea. I don't know. I know that this mirror it's Etrurian, but I don't know when it's found.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I would like also thank you very much for your presentation, which was to me very interesting. I would like to say that the material presented in this presentation, especially in the last part, comes from the Cherniakow culture, is very important to our excavations. Ours, it means Polish-Ukrainian excavations of the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnology, the Polish Academy of Sciences in Olbia, because this is the mark of the culture of the Cherniakow culture and mark of the date. Confirms our discovery that that Olbia, which was not in this time not more Olbia but Cherniakow settlement, existed longer than everybody thought. Also, as you said, the second part, the second kind of the camps, which is not dated also until the 5th century AD, so in the Hunnic period. But the question is, and I'm going to add that we took part in our project also the institute and in this scholarship. And the question is actually the right question. What was the most interesting item you just saw in Polish bone artifact? You just saw watch in the Polish collections during your visit, which is the most interesting.
I'm Steve. Thank you for the questions. I see many interested objects, but for me, how for scientists, very interested object, I can imagine it's like this one. It's it's very interesting because it's waste of production, because it's commonly like these parts. I talk about this, yeah. And also it's a good opportunity to see collection from Crimea, because now we don't have opportunity to work with this, and this collection unpublished. And also very interesting for me, in Narodowy Museum, I see a detail for bed, maybe funeral bed from Italy. Now we don't have such artifacts because it's a Roman time. We have from Greece time, classical time artifacts like this, but it's very interesting when you can see this object not in book or maybe some publication on internet, but in real life. Thank you.
Just
Yes.
short question. Are there any radiocarbon methods from some of these?
No,
artifacts
unfortunately,
or from other sites that you can compare with?
you know, it's a big problem sometimes for this because many of these pieces, object comes from old excavation, and we don't have this context. Yeah, but I think we don't have enough money for this. You know, it's very expensive for us even today. Of course, maybe 2 years ago, I think about this. For example, about this artifact, bone anvils, because now we understand that in other country it's dated to Roman time. We have the classical time, and we need to do this analysis, and we can check it because it only like we found with the ceramics and know that it can be this part. But if we do some analysis, we understand it better. But not now, and I don't know when.
Yeah, but that will because you know if the bones objects are in use for age, if ages, then it's useless. We cannot use the radiocarbon dating.
Yeah.
So let's forget about this undated. We can date them only by comparative studies, the styles, and so on. With the context, on the other hand, when we have the context, the dating for the written Roman time, the dating of the pottery and other objects usually is more precise than the radiocarbon, for example.
Sometimes, yes.
So that's why, you know, for these periods, radiocarbon in let's say in the civilized world is basically not very often used. This is very different for let's say for the barbarian. Yeah.
It can be interesting for us because in Olbia we have very big building activities, and sometimes it's difficult to understand. We have maybe Roman and a Greek object in one pit, but
the radiocarbon wouldn't be precise now to decide if it is, you know, still Roman or it is already within the Roman period. So I know, I mean that is of course sometimes it is can be confusing. But again, you have to remember that for some periods, radiocarbon is not ideal.
Yes, the much more precise is the ceramic.
Yeah, I think, but you know, it was just stated that sometimes it is a mixed context.
Right. No, this is right. This is right because the graphical situation of the sites, the excavation sites is sometimes extremely complicated.
Sometimes it's from archaic to Chernihiv, like it's mixed.
It is on slope, for example, of the levels of light.
I mean, the solution is because we know how people excavated and do excavate the sites now. And in general, we, the Mediterranean classical archaeologists, are not the best experts in digging with the context system. So when you have a very good experienced archaeologist working somewhere in Scandinavian countries and everything, then when they would probably sort it out much better than the archaeologists who got the classical education
Because I just understood that they could be used in different periods because it's
Yes.
quite simple idea, simple material, let's say.
And sometimes
This man, it's not like reconstruction.
Yeah.
He work with this. It's
So it's used also contemporary.
Yeah. in Tunisia.
Yes, but I just feel because we have found some of the scales also in our excavations trench, in our trench. So I just found it was not a place today for Alisa to show everything, but we have also the comparative material from the medieval period, from the Sweden or Norwegia. So
no, already from this.
Yes, they are.
The foundation of the
right,
Russian.
this is very conservative technology.
But also used as anvil.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right. Until the medieval period, and the gods, of course, they come from the north, so this is very similar technology.
Okay, can I have a
Yes, of
question?
course.
To this conference in agriculture, you said that they were both on settlement. There is a cemetery, necropolis at that time, no?
It's sorry, you can repeat because maybe
Yeah, I'm talking about the combs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's,
You said that they were both on the settlement. Have you got any necropolis?
yeah, we have in necropolis, but it's found beginning 20th century. And we have only bad pictures, these comps, but maybe one or two types in necropole in tombs.
Yes, because there is no regular cemetery of the Germanic period, only few tombs, few burials. Yes.
And researchers who work with this in the beginning of 20th century, they mark this as a Roman. Yeah, I know, of course, but it's beginning 20th centuries. Yeah.
So the cemetery is ahead of us.
And we have a short description of these tombs. It's not enough from some, you know, scientific.
Any other materials on the pots, on the stones?
No, yeah, metal finds and maybe a handle with handle knife on, but I don't understand what else now.
It was the latest one. It is a child tomb, which was discovered in I don't know, maybe 2 years ago in the other city, and it's also interesting items. I can.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
In the first, on the first slide of the title of your presentation, there was one artifact with E-size inscription. Can you get more?
About this black, like this one artifact. Yeah, it's with inscription of Greek alphabet letter, but I don't know Asian Greece, and it's problem for me. But we have.
This is quite simple, but you have in general more letters, inscriptions, or on artifacts.
Yeah, we have many different inscription in bone artifacts, in astragals and in other plates, sometimes in bone, only bone with inscription. It's more common from Sarmatian tongues. They like picked these tongues on all place or object around him. But always also we have, you know, we don't see, maybe you see this one. It's
Well, there's several.
it's
Yes,
we have the publication, of course, in Russian by Anna Rusaeva. She discovered this, and I don't pay attention for this in my. And also, you can see horse on this plate. It's and it's interesting. They use it, but also I don't know analogues for this plaque on another Greek settlement, only in Olbia and in Berezan. I don't know, maybe.
Here's the horse.
Yeah. And one plaque, I think I don't have this. We have plaque like this with the sheep. Thank you. On one more astragals with the alphabet letter.
This is really nice.
That is that works. Yeah. That you already showed that on the right. Eros. But that on the other one is the same word.
Yeah.
So both of them is the same word. Yeah.
Many astragals found in burials, and sometimes these unprocessed, but I think Greek like this type. Also in Olbia we have gold jewelry like in shape astragal, and also I see in another museum, for example in Narodowy Museum, we say some black figure astragal. It's interesting, they like it very much. I don't know why. I think it's more than some plain object. It also can be, maybe it's like amulet too for tuna or something like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much. And again, you are with us until the end of the year?
Yeah, but I think I come back to Ukraine maybe before no after Christmas, but before New Year.
So in between you will visit us. Okay, thank you very much for your pleasure, for your stay here. I wish you all the best. Olbia, as far as I know, Olbia is on the right side of the river. On the right side. Yeah.
No, yes, we hope
that the other side will be that as well. I jeszcze jedno, jeszcze ogłoszę dokładnie datę. W przyszłym 10 styczniu, 2 stycznia postaramy się mieć znów prezentację doktora Krzysztofa. Jaki jest to imię? Drugiej Dąbrowskiego o ceramice rzymskiej, 11 późniejszy, ale z rejonu podobnego. Nie wiem, czy tam będzie też prezentacja książki, rozumiem. Prawda? No i myślę, że w następnej kolejności zrobimy też lekcję naszych wykopalisk w Grecji, które rozpoczęliśmy. Jako ośrodek prowadzimy 2 projekty wykopaliskowe w Grecji, jedno w Stanie, jedno na Krecie. To też, ale to zawieszone jest. Proszę? No, always zawieszana, of course, I mean, we have to wait, but I hope when the war is ended, that our collaboration between our two academies and two countries will be very close, and then maybe there will be a huge collaboration, something on the large scale. That's all. Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.